I remember the first time I realized that I was afraid of my own heart. It wasn't fear of the world or fear of people. It was a quiet, subtle fear of my own softness, my own vulnerability, my own capacity to feel deeply. I think back to those moments, and it's almost ironic now, because that same softness, that same openness I once tried to hide, has become the very thing that fills my strength, my clarity, and the way I connect with life. It has become what I'm most proud of. For years, I thought that locking up my heart was the safest way to live. I built walls around my emotions, around my desires, around the parts of me that felt too raw or too tender. I told myself, or more like I was taught, that softness was weakness, that feeling too much or feeling too sensitive was being difficult. And in some ways, that was true for a while. Guarding myself kept me safe from rejection, from disappointment, from heartbreak, because I couldn't shed the feeling that if I ever had to ask for any help, I was begging. And I honestly would rather not. So I became so independent from a very young age. But protecting myself behind walls also kept me disconnected from myself, from others, from the joy and the love I was capable of experiencing. I wasn't aware of any of that. My self awareness came at a very late stage, pretty much after my divorce 5 years ago. And here's the funny part. You know why though? Because I thought I was pretty aware. But that's what I wanted to share with you. Our transformation is a process, it's a journey. It's not like you do a few minutes of software update and you then be upgraded to a newer version. It was through a series of noticing, acknowledging, learning, practicing, small awakenings, and lots of self love and self compassion that nudged me toward the truth. Softness is not weakness, vulnerability is not fragility. The ability to feel deeply, to be open, to let your heart guide you, these are superpowers. They are the gateways to connection, creativity, intuition, and joy. From there, I started becoming aware of the emotional walls I've built and learning how to break them down. And yet, stepping into that power required courage I didn't know I had. I started with small acts. I allowed myself to cry when I felt sadness instead of pretending to be fine. I let myself express love without calculating the risk of being hurt. I began to listen to the quiet voice inside me that said, it's safe to feel, it's safe to open, it's safe to be you. Whether others accept the real you or not is on them, not on you. And slowly, layer by layer, the walls I had built around my heart began to crumble. I want to be clear. Opening your heart is not about being reckless. It's not about throwing yourself into every situation blindly or expecting everyone to treat you perfectly. It's about choosing alignment with your true self over the illusion of safety that fear offers. It's about listening to your intuition, honoring your boundaries, and trusting that your heart knows the way forward, even when the path feels uncertain. One of the most transformative practices I discovered was reflection, deep, honest reflection. You know what I'm about to say, right? Yes, journaling. I don't journal every day, but I reflect frequently by asking myself, how did I show up in that certain situation? Did I act from fear or did I act from love? What moments did I shrink? And where did I step fully into my heart? And when I do sit down with my journal, I process all my emotions and go deeply inward. Here's the thing, when you are deep in a relationship or a challenging situation, it's often difficult to see the forest for the trees. But through these reflections, I noticed patterns. I noticed how often I had been avoiding discomfort, protecting my heart from imagined threats, and closing myself off from potential growth. And I began to see that every time I chose softness, every time I allowed myself to feel, to be present, to be vulnerable, I became stronger, more confident, more grounded, and I became less attached to certain outcome. My heart was not a liability. It was my guide. My sensitivity was not a burden. It was my compass. Another crucial piece of this journey was learning to forgive myself for the times I had been afraid. I had spent so many years judging myself for being too sensitive, for feeling too much, for allowing emotions to surface that didn't seem practical or productive. But I realized that self-judgment was just another form of guarding my heart. No, it doesn't mean I always give myself a free pass. When I forgive myself, when I allowed compassion to replace criticism, I felt a new kind of freedom. I felt that my heart could expand, that my love could flow, that my presence could be fully seen and accepted. And I learned from my mistakes and grow with love. I also discovered that connecting with others in honesty, open hearted ways accelerated my growth. I allowed myself to share my thoughts and feelings without trying to control how others would respond. I listened deeply to others without trying to fix them or defend myself. I learned that when you approach relationships from a place of openness and authenticity, the connections that form are deeper, richer, and far more nourishing than anything fear could protect you from. There were moments of doubt, of course. Opening your heart doesn't mean you never get hurt. But the difference is that pain doesn't become a cage anymore. Pain becomes a teacher. It becomes an invitation to come back to yourself, to realign with your values, to grow. And when you learn to navigate life this way, fear loses its grip. You no longer measure every decision against the risk of being hurt. You measure it against the opportunity to live fully, to love fully, and to be fully seen. Opening your heart also means that those who don't truly align with you will naturally leave your life. You no longer see this as a rejection, but a filter that helps turn down noises in your life. I want to pause here and speak directly to you because I know some of you listening may be hesitant. You may be holding back because you're afraid that opening your heart will make you vulnerable in ways you cannot control. You may have been hurt before, or you may have witnessed the heartbreak of others and promised yourself you would never feel that pain. I want you to hear this clearly. Your heart's capacity to love, to feel, to connect is not a weakness. It's the very thing that will carry you through life with courage, authenticity, and joy. Just as you long to be seen and heard, your heart also yearns for connection. Don't lock away your precious heart. It thrives in love. Another practice that helped me was embracing my emotions as guides rather than obstacles. I began to notice when I was shutting down, shrinking, or withdrawing. I asked myself, what is my heart trying to tell me in this moment? What does it want to express, even if it's uncomfortable? And instead of suppressing these feelings, I allow them to be, to surface, to guide me. This simple shift transformed not just how I experienced emotions, but how I navigated life. My heart was no longer something to protect. It was a compass pointing me toward alignment, clarity, and love. Over time, I began to recognize that my softness was not separate from my strength. It was the source of it. My capacity to feel deeply allowed me to empathize, to create, to lead, and to inspire. It gave me courage in ways I had never known before. It allowed me to act from authenticity rather than pretense, to trust intuition over fear, to approach life with a sense of curiosity and openness rather than caution and retreat. One of the most profound realizations of this journey was that the heart you fear is the heart you must trust. The parts of you that feel too much, that love too fiercely, that ache with longing, these are not flaws. They are your superpowers. They're the engines of creativity, connection, and courage. And the more you honor them, the more you step into your full self, the more you invite love, joy, and possibility into your life. I also learned that sharing my heart openly became a gift not just to myself, but to the world. Every time I allowed myself to be seen, I gave permission to others to do the same. Vulnerability became a bridge, not a barrier. And I realized that my journey to unlocking my heart was not only personal, it was also universal. We're all learning to navigate the delicate balance between fear and love, between protection and openness, between guarding and glowing. And that's the soul mission I've discovered, or I should say, uncovered, through my recent spiritual epiphany. That's my reason for being, to help people unlock their hearts. My spiritual awakening inspired me to create my signature heart framework, guiding people to unlock their hearts through healing, embodying, awakening, reconnecting, and transforming. If you are curious about my spiritual awakening experience, check out my previous videos via the links in the description box below. So, what does it mean to come full circle? It means that realizing the very heart you once feared, the one you tried to shield, to hide, to control, is the one that holds your greatest power. It means understanding that softness is strength, that vulnerability is courage, and that leading with your heart is the most potent way to live. If you take anything away from this video, let it be this: your heart is not something to protect at all costs. It's something to trust, to honor, and to let guide you. The walls you once built can come down. The fear you once carried can transform. And the love you have always feared can become the foundation of a life that is truly yours. I invite you to pause for a moment and feel your own heart. Notice the beat, the warmth, and the subtle intelligence it carries. This is your compass, your guide, your superpower. Treat it with the respect and trust it deserves. Allow it to lead you in small ways, in everyday choices, and in the grand arcs of your life. And as you continue on this journey, remember that unlocking your heart is not a single moment, it's a lifetime practice. Each act of openness, each courageous choice, each moment of self acceptance brings you closer to your authentic self. The heart you once feared becomes your greatest teacher, your most loyal ally, and the source of your deepest fulfillment. You have everything you need inside of you to come full circle. And the day you finally step into that truth is the day you will realize that you were never broken, never too sensitive, and never too tender. You were, all along, perfectly equipped to live a life guided by your heart, fully and bravely. So, let yourself feel, let yourself love, Let yourself be seen. The world needs your heart, soft, open, and glowing. And the journey to unlock it begins now.